Hello and welcome to URL Insurance Group's presentation of the basics of selling final expense. My name is Matt Olina. I'm the final expense manager here at URL Insurance Group, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about selling final expense life insurance. We have a tendency as brokerages to tell you to go out there and sell, and we hammer products out there, but we really don't get into what exactly you're selling. So the purpose of today's presentation is really just to dial it back and to help you learn exactly what final expense insurance is and the opportunities that are available to you right in your own backyard. So we're going to get into the details of final expense and all the opportunities that are available in the final expense or the senior life marketplace. Now, when we talk about final expense insurance, you cannot turn the TV on for very long and not start seeing advertisements for companies like Globe Life and for AARP and Colonial Penn. Companies like this are spending thousands and thousands of dollars every day to talk to people that are in your backyard. Why would you let someone like this get in front of your clients and people in your backyard to sell them policies that are absolutely awful? They're overpriced. They don't give them the full benefit that they anticipate. Don't let them do it. We have better products in our portfolio. We have a full portfolio of products available to you to offer to your clients, to people in your area. So we're going to get into all of that. And the products that we have provide a death benefit day one. And the products are just as inexpensive as what you see advertised on television. The products that you see on television are not products that give you a benefit day one, and we'll get into all of that. So here's what we'll be discussing today. We're going to discuss what final expense insurance really is, what it is, and then we're going to get into how you can get involved in selling final expense. And when you decide and commit to getting involved in selling final expense, we'll show you how you can obtain some leads through your partnership with us here at URL Insurance Group. And we'll also go into the whole final expense sales process. And lastly, we'll discuss why final expense insurance is so popular. Before we get into that, there are a lot of people on today's call that are new to URL, or maybe you have never done business with us here. So I do want to just kind of explain to you who we are and what we do. So URL Insurance Group is a full-service, family-owned national brokerage. Now, we've been serving the independent insurance broker like yourself since 1986. And we specialize in areas life insurance, which includes traditional as well as final expense, annuities, health insurance, that's individual and group, Medicare, employee benefits, and also ancillary products like long-term care, disability, critical illness. And we go by the saying that we are in the people business because at the end of the day, it is all about the people. If we're not providing you good products to offer to your clients and it's not serving your clients, we're all going to be out of business. So at the end of the day, it's all about helping people. It's about URL Insurance Group helping you and you helping your clients. And if we embrace that partnership, we'll all grow together. So with that being said, let's get into what is final expense life insurance. Final expense life insurance, as a basic definition, is a non-medical or a simplified issue whole life policy. It's designed to cover older clients, your senior clients. Now, as long as your client pays their premiums, your client will never outlive the insurance protection. So it's a non-medical whole life policy. What does that mean? No medical exams are required. No blood is required. No urine is required. Underwriters aren't going after medical records, also known as APSs. Now, typically you're looking at face amounts that range anywhere between $5,000 to $25,000. Now, there are companies out there that will offer coverage for less than $5,000, and there's companies out there that'll offer coverage for more than $25,000. And the average rate or the average age group for people in the final expense marketplace are ages 45 to 85. Again, there are companies that'll issue final expense plans for younger clients, and there are final expense companies that'll offer coverage for people older than age 85. And when I say by offering coverage, the client will never outlive the coverage. It's the issue age. So it's the issue age that we're talking about here. And the other nice thing about final expense life insurance, or an advantage, is that final expense life insurance policies are issued in just a matter of a couple of days. We have companies that'll actually give you an underwriting decision right then and there at the point of sale. So as we discuss final expense life insurance, understand that it is a whole life insurance policy. So a client will lock in a rate that'll never change. So as long as they pay the premium, that rate never changes on them. Even as they get older, or even as they start having some health issues, as long as they pay the premium, that rate is never going to change. Because it's a whole life policy, a client will never outlive their insurance coverage. So again, as long as they pay the premiums, the death benefit will always be there available to their beneficiary for the rest of their life. They will never outlive the insurance coverage. Because it is a whole life policy, it does build cash values. Not a lot. Mainly the premiums are being paid to fund a death benefit, but there are some cash values there. So if something happens in their life and they need access to cash, or they just don't want that final expense policy anymore, they can cancel the policy and cash it out and get some cash value back to recoup some of those costs. The other thing about a whole life policy, just like any life insurance policy, the policy death benefit goes to the beneficiary tax-free. And the goal when you're selling a final expense life insurance policy is to try to get your client into a level benefit plan. A level benefit plan means it's a death benefit that's available day one. And that means that if your client purchases a policy and 2 days from the date of purchasing the policy, they die, the beneficiary is going to get the full death benefit amount that they applied for. So if they applied for a $10,000 policy and they died a couple of days after placing the policy, the beneficiary is going to get $10,000. The other option for final expense is a graded or modified death benefit. That is typically your guaranteed issue plans. With those plans, there's usually a 2-year wait for the full death benefit to be paid out. So if a client gets a policy and a graded or modified policy and they die in the first couple of years, the beneficiary is typically going to get the premiums that the person has paid into the policy back plus interest. There are some companies out there that will pay a percentage of the death benefit in each year. So if the death occurs in the first year, the beneficiary may only get 30% of the death benefit, or if they die in the second year, they may only get 60 or 70%. So there's a couple of different payment structures there depending on the company, but on a graded or modified benefit, the death benefit is not usually available day one unless that person passes away or dies by accidental causes like a car accident or some other accidental means. But if they die due to health-related issues, heart attack, stroke, whatever, in the first couple of years on a graded or modified plan, the full death benefit does not get paid out right away. It's usually a return of premium plus interest. For those of you who are familiar with traditional life insurance, we're going to discuss the differences between traditional life insurance and final expense life insurance. With traditional life insurance, usually companies require a blood draw, a blood sample that they're going to test, where final expense insurance does not require any blood. Traditional life insurance usually requires a urine sample as well, where final expense coverage does not require a urine sample. Depending on your client's level of health and medical history, sometimes APSs or medical records are ordered by the underwriter for traditional life insurance. With final expense insurance, they don't mess with medical records. Either the client qualifies for the plan or they don't. Sometimes traditional life insurance underwriting can be rather restrictive as they look at cholesterol levels and blood pressure and height and weight and things like that. Final expense insurance is liberal. It's considering the fact that you're dealing with an older client that has some medical problems like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and a bunch of other issues. And we'll get into that in a little more detail here in just a few minutes. With traditional life insurance, the average underwriting time is between 4 and 6 weeks. It sometimes takes even longer than that. With final expense underwriting, it's less than 1 week's time that you would have an underwriting decision. Again, either the client qualifies for the plan or they don't. When you're quoting traditional life insurance, there's sometimes a rate guessing game. So you look at somebody on the surface and you think, oh, they're in great health. But then it comes back that they have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or something like that, or some minor abnormalities. So they don't get that preferred rate. They would get standard. You still have to go back and resell that. You have to resell to the client why there is an increase in the premiums. With final expense, there is no rate guessing game. Either your client's going to qualify for the rate that you quoted or they're not. And you don't have to waste time and you don't have to resell the policy. You see, just like final expense life insurance is life insurance designed with seniors in mind, Medicare is health insurance. They're like the same. Medicare is health insurance designed for seniors. Final expense life insurance is designed for seniors. So either your clients are going to qualify or they're not going to qualify. So things like diabetes, it's acceptable. Final expense companies are not concerned about diabetes. They are concerned about complications associated with it, but whether your client is taking a pill or if they're taking insulin injections, as long as it's controlled, or even if it's not controlled, but they're not having any symptoms of any loss of limbs or vision problems or kidney problems, they can get a level death benefit plan. People who have had heart attacks, they can get a level death benefit plan. It just depends on when this occurred. Same thing with strokes. Depending on when they had that stroke or the TIA or mini stroke. If it's been a couple of years since they've had that occurrence, they can get a level death benefit plan. Here's a surprising one, cancer. A lot of people think, oh, my client had cancer, they're never going to qualify for it. If they've been in remission for a couple of years, chances are they will be able to qualify for a level death benefit plan. Just in case they can't qualify for a level death benefit plan, we do have guaranteed issue carriers. Typically, people with these following conditions would have to go with a guaranteed issue plan. And our best guaranteed issue plans are with companies like AIG and Gerber. So if a client has AIDS or HIV, that's an automatic guaranteed issue. If you have a client that was recently diagnosed with cancer or they're going through cancer treatment, they're going to only be able to qualify for a guaranteed issue plan. Somebody on kidney dialysis, that is also a guaranteed issue situation. If a client has COPD or emphysema and they're using oxygen, they're tethered to an oxygen tank, that's a guaranteed issue plan or the need for a guaranteed issue plan. And there are other uninsurable medical conditions. And remember that if a client is getting a guaranteed issue plan, the death benefit does not get paid out. The full death benefit does not get paid out in the first 2 years. So it's the return of the premiums paid plus 10% interest. That's what the beneficiary would get. Again, if a client dies by accidental means, then the full death benefit is paid out. But if they die by natural causes, as they say, then it's a graded benefit for the first 2 years. Now, there's times where you're going to be on an appointment and you're just not exactly sure. Somebody throws a curveball, you're looking at an application, you're trying to pre-qualify a client, and you're just not sure what to do. Just call us here at URL. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation today, and you can just give us a call. I handle this all day long, and I can help find the best option. There are going to be times where I'm going to say, well, look, based on what you're telling me, we're only looking at a guarantee issue is the only option. But I will tell you, and I will look for the best product. So instead of trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, we try to have the company fit your client. So now that you know a little bit about what final expense insurance is, what that policy is, again, it is a whole life insurance policy. The goal is to try to get them into a level benefit plan, but there are times where they're going to have to get into a graded or guaranteed issue plan, but they're whole life plans where they lock in a rate that the rate will never change and they'll never outlive the coverage, unlike some of the things that you see advertised on television. So now, how do you get started in selling final expense? Have a conversation with one of us here at URL. We will talk to you about the various companies that you have access to through your relationship with us here at URL. You'll then select the companies you want to represent and get contracted. Contracting typically takes about 7 business days. Now, during that time frame, you'll get set up with that, and then you will also get some marketing supplies, applications, and all of that. You will see that URL Insurance Group, we have a robust portfolio of final expense carriers. Some of them only specialize in guaranteed issue, but we have nearly 20 different final expense companies. It's in order to help you stay competitive in the senior life marketplace. So when you're getting started, our recommendation is to select 2 or 3 different final expense carriers, companies that have different loopholes in their application. And then you're going to get to know those companies inside and out. One of those companies should be a guaranteed issue plan. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I need to go with a company that has name recognition. While that can be important, final expense clients will also appreciate and trust your suggestions. And understand that when you're getting licensed with any of these final expense carriers, there are no licensing fees and there are no special certifications. The only fee that you might incur would be E&O if you don't already have it. We do offer that here. So now that you're getting licensed with some carriers, you're going to need to get some clients. Now you can either commit to ordering leads and sticking with a certain lead system or a lead program, or you can go through your own book of business. It's entirely up to you. But if you are looking to obtain leads, we do have various lead resources here at URL. You have access to social media, which is Facebook. You have exclusive lead mailers, a couple different options there, and we have a couple of different options for telemarketed leads. And understand this, and I do want to make a point of saying this, URL does not make any money. We do not profit off of selling leads. So when you get contracted with us, you can have access to the lead vendors that we have at the costs that we've been able to negotiate, but we're not making any profit on that. If you want to use a lead vendor that you know or that you trust, by all means, go ahead and do that. Now, costs for leads can get a little bit expensive. So with that in mind, URL does subsidize your lead costs based on your production. Now, there's 2 types of agents that work with URL. There are Gemini agents and there's non-Gemini agents. Now, Gemini agents, those are agents that decided that they're going to consolidate all of their business under one roof with URL. And if it's a carrier that we have here, we ask that you transfer that to us and do that business with us. If it's not a company that we have, you're still free to use that outside of URL. But if you decide that you're going to do the lion's share of your business with URL, we're going to give back to you. Now, with lead subsidies, for every $1,000 of annualized premium that you place each month, we're going to give you $80. If you're a standard agent or a non-Gemini agent, we're still going to subsidize your leads. We're going to give you $1,000. For every $1,000 of annualized premium that you place each month, we're going to give you $50. So $50 for every $1,000 of monthly annualized premium that you place will help you to subsidize those lead costs for you. Now, leads are leads. So sometimes the best leads are actually warm leads and referrals. So if you are working, say, in the Medicare market, your Medicare clients are also final expense clients, and we have some turnkey marketing pieces and turnkey sales pieces that will help you get in front of your Medicare clients to talk to them about final expense. And we also have some turnkey letters, sales scripts, and brochures that just help you talk about final expense and to present the importance of final expense. So now that we've discussed the leads, and kind of moving forward is if you were already working with a client, so you have a lead or you have a warm referral, let's get into the final expense sales process. So how do you start a conversation about final expense insurance? Understand that nobody wants to talk about death, nobody wants to talk about dying, nobody wants to talk about funerals. But we also understand that it is a reality of life. So you do have to kind of subtly bring it up and at least start a conversation about final expense. So here are some of the top 5 lead-in questions to starting a conversation and explaining the importance of final expense life insurance. Question number 1, have you or someone you know ever been responsible for making funeral arrangements? How did it go, and did it create financial problems? If it went fairly well, chances are that there was enough money there to carry out the funeral plans as desired. If there were some financial problems there, chances are they didn't have the money there to carry out all of those wishes. A final expense life insurance policy can help alleviate some of those financial problems. Question number 2, who will be responsible for your funeral arrangements when you die, and is that person financially prepared? So when you're talking to a client and you ask them that question, most of the time you're probably going to be told, oh, my spouse or my son or daughter. Well, then the next question, the follow-up question is, well, are they financially prepared? Meaning, is there money there to be able to carry out your final wishes? A final expense life insurance policy is a great way to transfer money from one generation to the next for funeral expenses. Question number 3, this is designed for people, maybe they're still working and they have family that still relies on their income. Does your spouse have enough savings to protect against the immediate loss of your income? So a lot of people think that final expense policies only go to pay for funeral expenses and burial. That's not true. You don't have to show any accounting of what you're doing with that benefit. You can leave it for an inheritance, leave it for your grandkids to go to college. A lot of people use it for burial purposes and funeral purposes, but some people still rely on that paycheck. And a final expense life insurance policy can help with paying off medical bills, credit card bills, or providing a small income for a little bit as an income replacement. Question number 4. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but are you aware that bank accounts and assets are not usually readily available to your children immediately upon your death? Now, there's some ways around that, but if they have a checking and savings and their kids are not involved with that, the kids do not have access to that right away. A final expense life insurance policy, just like life insurance in general, avoids probate and it avoids taxes. So again, it's one of the easiest and quickest ways to transfer assets, transfer money from the parents to the children. And this last question is very direct. If you don't take out a final expense policy, what alternative plan will you use for your family? It's a very direct question. Sometimes people just don't want to spend the money on a life insurance policy, so they'll tell you, well, I'm just going to put $50 a month away. Well, if they died 3 months after putting $50 a month, so there's $150 in a bank account. If they put $50 into a final expense policy and they died 3 months after buying that policy, they are going to have a substantial death benefit amount, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, or more, depending on their age and how much that money buys them. And again, that money is tax-free money. So once you've explained to the client and kind of talked about final expense and they're ready to make a decision, you still kind of have to help them along with a few things. And there's 5 steps to this. The first step is to determine your client's needs or budget. Unlike traditional life insurance, where you're usually doing a financial needs analysis and then determining how much of a death benefit they need, this is more or less a budget-driven sale. So you want to ask them how much can they afford each month. Step number 2 is to pre-qualify your client. You're going to have your select companies, the companies, your go-to companies, your main companies for final expense. So you're going to know their medical questions inside and out. So you're going to pre-qualify them. Now, some agents will kind of do it reverse 1 and 2. You may pre-qualify your client, ask them medical questions to see that they can qualify for the plan you want to quote, and then determine how much of a death benefit or how much they can afford and go from there. So you can flip-flop 1 and 2, but you would pre-qualify your client by asking them the medical questions. You don't want to go through the entire application process and then find out that there's a medical issue that they have, and you've wasted your time and their time filling out all of this paperwork, and then come to find out that they're not going to qualify. Once you've determined that the client can qualify, then you're going to complete the entire application. Some carriers are going to require a point-of-sale phone interview. The application will specify that and what number you are to call to do the point-of-sale phone interview. If you're not sure, you can always call me. I'm happy to help you with that. Once you complete the application, you're going to submit the application. You can submit it directly to the case managers here at URL Insurance Group, or we'll scrub them and process it. You can also submit the applications directly to the carrier. There are companies that you can do over the phone applications where there's no paperwork involved. It's simply voice authorizations and phone conversations, and like a three-way call. And there are some companies that have online applications where you submit the paperwork electronically. Once you've submitted the application, the next is to deliver the policy. You can either have the company deliver the policy or mail the policy directly to the client, or you can have the company send the policy to you to deliver to your client. It's up to you. So like I said, unlike traditional life insurance, final expense insurance is really a budget-driven sale. So instead of, like I said, doing a financial needs analysis, a lot of times you will ask the client, do you have a desired death benefit in mind, or do you have a particular budget in mind? And just like the stuff you see advertised on television, our plans start for as little as $1 a day. Most of these plans are around $25 to $30 a month. The more the client can afford, the bigger the death benefit amount they'll be able to leave their family. Another thing is when you're dealing with older clients, you're dealing with people who may have one source of income and they're living on Social Security. So a concern is having the billing coincide with their Social Security. So billing can be arranged around Social Security payments. We do have some carriers that'll actually bill directly into their Social Security account. And understanding and let the client know that regardless of their age and as they get older, and regardless of their changes in health as they get older, the rates never change, but they have to keep paying those premiums to lock in that rate. So once you've determined the budget, now the next question is, where do you get rates? Now, all of the final expense carriers have rate books that you can keep along with you, but we try to keep it a little bit more simple. You can go to our website. It is accessible and is compliant with and compatible with laptops, tablets, your cell phones. As long as you can have access to our website, URL insgroup.com/Aries, then you would click on Life Markets and then click on Quoting Tools, and you will have access to our final expense quote engine. You'll see a section there. So you're going to put in the state that the sale is taking place, the date of birth of the client, male or female, smoker or non-smoker, and the amount of coverage, and then click on Get Quotes Now. This is not really a consumer-driven website. This is for you to have access. The website will do the price shopping for you. So you'll see for this particular person, it has a list of companies. Well, let's say you're not licensed with Family Benefit Life, but you are licensed with United Home Life in this scenario. You'll see that there is just a few pennies difference between rates. So you're not doing your clients a disservice. It is just a way for you to have quicker access to rates without you having to use any calculations. It does it all for you. So now you have the budget in mind, or the rates there. The next step is then to complete the application. Now remember, you can do you can either pre-qualify the client first to determine what company to use and then determine the budget, or determine the budget and then try to pre-qualify them. With final expense applications, you'll see that the applications are kind of divided up into 3 tiers. There's three sections. You have section 1. These are usually your knockout questions, whether your client's going to qualify for anything. So that's section number 1. Section number 2 may be for a level benefit plan, but maybe it's not as cheap. And then the third section may be also a level benefit plan, but maybe it's not as it's the cheaper rate. So if a client answers yes to the very first section of questions on a final expense application, you're automatically going to pivot to a guarantee issue plan. So that is the way the application looks. Now, let me get into the application a little bit more in detail here. So let me see if I can get rid of the so you'll see the very first section. This is, like I mentioned before, with guarantee issue. It asks if they're on kidney dialysis. It asks if they're on oxygen use, if they require assistance to bathe themselves, or if they're in a hospital or nursing home, if they have AIDS or HIV, if they've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. If they answer yes to any of these questions, they're not going to qualify for the plan. Now, they also ask, here's where I mentioned that people that have certain ailments, significant ailments can still qualify for a level benefit plan. Here, in the past 2 years, have you been treated for, diagnosed for any form of cancer? The answer to that question is no. Heart disorder, heart attacks, strokes, that type of thing. If it's been 2 years and 1 day, the client can qualify for this plan. You do not want the clients, and do not let the clients elaborate. Either the client qualifies for the plan or they don't. So if it's been 2 years and 1 day, the answer to that question is no. Same thing here with additional questions. Now, on the applications, you're going to see that it's going to tell you, well, based on what they answered, the client's only going to qualify for a modified or graded benefit or whatever plan it is. So it's going to give you the instructions there. But again, if you're not sure of what they're going to qualify for, then you can always contact us and ask. We're here to help. Here's another carrier's application. Again, you'll see that there are 3 sections, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. Again, Section 1 are the knockout questions. If they answer yes to those questions, don't move forward. Now here is where they ask a couple different questions a little differently, and they'll ask about, in the past 4 years, have they used any, or if they've had any treatment of cancer. But you'll also see that they'll ask about, in the past 2 years, if they've had any heart surgery, strokes, stuff like that. So again, if it's been 2 years and 1 day, they can qualify for a level benefit plan. Again, the purpose or the goal is to try to get your client into a level benefit plan. And understand here, let me just show you this. Here are the instructions on what the application will say if the client answers yes for one particular section or another. So you'll have the instructions there. Again, if you're not sure where to go, or you're not sure, you can always contact us here at URL. So you've gone through the application process. The next step then is basically if the company requires a point of sale phone interview, you'll want to complete that. Basically, the way that works is you'll be talking to your client. You're going to ask them those medical questions on the application, and then you're going to dial the toll-free number that's listed on the application. You're going to talk to the underwriter, tell them who you are, and then you're going to hand the phone over to your client. The underwriter is going to ask them questions. While they're talking to the client, they're going to be running an MIB check and a prescription drug record check. All that's going to be taking place. And then after the phone interview, they'll ask the client to hand the phone back over to you. And if the client is approved, the underwriter is going to tell you that the client is approved as applied. While you're completing all of this, while you're at the point of sale, you will want to get payment information. Usually that if the client's going to be paying on a bank draft on a monthly basis, you'll want the routing number and bank account information there and a copy of the void check. There are times where the client wants to pay on a quarterly, semi-annual, or annual basis, and you can take a check at that point of sale as well, and they'll just get billed on that modal basis. So you'll submit the application paperwork either to URL or direct to the carrier. And usually if you do the point of sale phone interview, usually within a day or two of that approval, they're sending out the policy anyway to the client. And one of the nice things about final expense sales is that you get paid right away, and you get paid directly from the carrier. So commissions don't go from the carrier to URL and then from URL to you. It goes directly from the carrier directly into your bank account. So why is final expense insurance so popular? Well, one of the things is numbers don't lie. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, for over the next 30 plus years, the baby boomer population is growing significantly. It's growing rapidly. So there's so many sales opportunities there. So you have the population boom, the baby boomer boom, as they're getting older and they need final expense. Again, if you've been doing traditional life insurance, you're probably tired of medical exams, APSs, and all that long time in underwriting. So there's no medical exams. That's another nice thing. And people can still get good coverage without having to do blood, without having to do urine. They're budget friendly. They're affordable. The plans are issued quickly. Again, either your client's going to qualify for the plan or they're not going to qualify for the plan. The commissions are very strong as well. Commissions start around 100% for a level benefit, and they go up to 105, 110, 115, 120, depending on the product, depending on the company. And again, it's liberally underwritten. It's designed and it's underwritten with seniors and seniors who have medical concerns, medical issues. So back in 2017, the Life Insurance Marketing Research Association, also known as LIMRA, they interviewed people, Americans, why did you buy life insurance? The number 3 answer to why they bought life insurance was to transfer wealth or to leave an inheritance. 63% of the people that purchased a life insurance policy in the United States bought it to transfer wealth or leave inheritance. The number 2 answer is to replace lost wages or income. That was 67% of the people that purchased a life insurance policy in the United States purchased it as an income replacement. The number 1 reason why people or Americans bought life insurance, 85% of the people said to cover burial and final expenses. That is why final expense insurance is so important in what you're doing. What we have here is going to cover those burial and final expenses. So let's summarize exactly what we've discussed here today. Again, final expense life insurance is whole life insurance. The client locks in a rate that'll never change as long as they pay their premiums. They'll never outlive the coverage. So it's easy to explain and it's easy to understand. It's easy for you to explain to the client and it's easy for your client to understand. So you're going to explain to them that this is the rate that you're going to pay or that they're going to pay, and their beneficiary is going to get this set death benefit amount. You'll never outlive it. You'll never get a notice from the mail saying you need to pay more money because you have additional health problems or you have additional or because you're older. Again, they're liberally underwritten. Either your client's going to qualify for the plan or they're not. So you're not wasting your time. You're not wasting your client's time. You're not having to resell it either. They're budget friendly. Again, for as little as $1 a day, the same stuff that you see advertised, but our coverage offers coverage. The programs that we have offer coverage day 1. They're quickly issued and you get paid quickly. There's no medical exams, no medical records, no guessing. Again, I keep saying this, either the client qualifies for the plan or they don't. Another reason the final expense is so popular is that for the next 30 years, over the next 30 years, the sales opportunities are growing by leaps and bounds. The numbers don't lie. And when you work with URL, we're going to guide you and we're going to hold your hand every step of the way. We want this to be profitable for you. We want to help you grow in this area. That's the whole purpose for this whole webinar, is to really dial down the basics of what final expense is and the opportunities that are there. Here are some of the reasons why you will enjoy selling final expense with URL Insurance Group. We have a very simple sales model. We have competitive products. We have, like I said, we have almost 20 different final expense carriers, and they're competitive. We have various lead resources available for you, and we have presentation materials, whether you're doing an individual presentation or maybe you're in a senior center and doing a group presentation. We have all of those materials, and we have a very simple sales model. You don't need to recreate the wheel. It's very simple to do. It's very simple to use. Final expense, people need it. A lot of the people that are in the final expense arena, the clients, they've just never really had a large enough income to attract financial planners, but they are aware that they need final expense insurance. Of course, nobody wants to talk about death and dying and funerals, but they are aware that they do need it. And they also know, and they probably have had to prepare a funeral or plan a funeral or two in their lifetime, and they know that funeral expenses can become a financial burden, and they don't want to be a financial burden to their loved ones. Final expense insurance alleviates all of that. We can help you harness and get involved in one of the fastest growing segments of the life insurance industry, which is final expense. We can help you get involved in there and be very good at it and very successful at it. And last but certainly not least, freedom. You work when you want to work, and your results are based on the amount of effort you put into it. So if you see that your bank account's getting a little low, it might be time to get back to work. And remember, when you're working with URL, you're still self-employed. It is your business. So you work when you want to work. It is your business, and we're here to help support you. And understand that when you work with URL Insurance Group, and me specifically, I'm here to help you every step of the way. You can contact me directly at 800-926-8875. My direct extension is 141. Again, I'm the Final Expense Manager. My name's Matt Alina, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, contact me anytime. 800-926-8875. I appreciate everyone's attendance. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you and helping you get involved in the final expense marketplace. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.